Hello everyone! I am going to tell you today about how my reading was not so awesome in the month of September. It was just a rough month for reading. I was watching Louise over at the Big Haired Bookworm, her September wrap up, and she's had just kind of some stress going on in her life, and what she said really resonated with me, that for us who just say that we love reading, it really bothers us sometimes when, life is a little bit crazy and we just have trouble focusing on reading, and there's just not much we want to read. For those of us who say we are readers, we kind of want to read at all times, and just for some of us that isn't a possibility. So the month of September was really crazy with my move, and after I had moved, I just had lots of trouble paying attention. And then the beginning of September was kind of riddled with books that I wasn't enjoying that much, and I had a lot of DNFing and a lot of just trying this, trying that, and it was just, it was rough, but I am really happy to say that I'm very much so enjoying the Victorian literature that I have been reading. So September, not so great. There were 3 DNFs in the month of September, or maybe even more. Well, okay, I'll talk about the first 3 that I wanted to talk about. And the first is A Good Yarn by Debbie Maycomer. This was in Casual Friday Reads I did a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted something easy and light, and I had heard maybe some people say she was like Rosamund Pilcher. Well, I don't know how else to say it. Her writing is just, it was so mediocre and not anything like Rosamund Pilcher's. Like, I don't think Rosamund Pilcher is up there with Jane Austen or anything, but she definitely knows how to write. And Debbie Maycomer, I was not impressed. And like, I think when I finally decided I wanted to DNF it was when there's a character who's printing out copies on a printer, and it was like, she pressed the print button, she watched the paper come out, she grabbed the paper, snooze fest. So I was not enjoying it. And I was doing the audiobook too, which I'm a lot more tolerant with audiobooks. So it was kind of rough. I just kept having book after book that I wasn't that into. Then I tried the Poisonwood Bible, and it was not for me. Just the tone of it just felt very cynical and sardonic. And yeah, I wasn't up for it. And then I tried As a Buddy Read with Stephanie from That's What She Read, For Whom the Bell Tolls by John Steinbeck. And it was one that I just think my mind was not ready for then. So I DNF'd it. I think I'm going to keep the book in the hopes that eventually I would try him again. Not John Steinbeck, Ernest Hemingway. Goodness, Kate. I'll hold it up. So either I wasn't ready for it, or I'm just not a Hemingway novel fan. I don't know. We shall see, but I put it down for now because it just wasn't my cup of tea. And then also I have a whole video on my DNFs coming out because I had several in addition to that. Okay, then on to the books that I did read though. And the first is End in Tears by Ruth Rendell. And this was an Inspector Wexford novel, and this was definitely good. I'm really happy that I read it, and I did the audiobook, which is only the second Wexford audiobook I've ever done. But it takes place in a setting where there is, it seems, a case of mistaken identity, in that the wrong person is murdered, and then eventually later on the right person is murdered. And so it was a very kind of like go over here, meander over there, go over there type of mystery. Not linear at all. They had to investigate all the different aspects of it. But I love Ruth Rendell so much that it didn't really bother me. And at the end, it was kind of a weird resolution, but I love her so much, so she can do anything. And it definitely was interesting and had some really interesting social issues, as always, kind of with a parent's bond with a child, and whether you can truly, like, whether surrogate mothers can truly just keep themselves not bonded with the child that they have and keep themselves outside of that kind of parental relationship. And yeah, it was very interesting, and kind of also the market of selling children. It got really interesting. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And the next one that I read was Dying in the Wool. This is by Frances Brody, and it's the first in the Kate Shackleton series. And this was one that kind of contributed to my slumpiness. I enjoyed it, but it just kept going and going. And by the end, I was so ready for it to be done. It's a fun setting where she has kind of decided she wants to be a detective, and she is a widow. But she doesn't believe that her husband is dead. And so she was an interesting character, but it was around 500 pages, and I think it could have been wrapped up in 400. I don't know. So it may have been the month, or it may have been the mystery, and I don't know if I'll ever know. The next one that I read that I did really enjoy was The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck. And I had actually in a Q&A video that this was one that I wanted to read, and I'm really, really happy that I did. It's about family in China, and it's right before the Cultural Revolution. And I didn't realize this is the first in a trilogy, so it'll be really interesting to continue on. But it's just about the people and their relationship to the land and to money and to the family culture, and how when these things shift and change, how these affect you. And also there was a lot of examination of marriage and kind of how men view women in this. And there's even a quote in it of he's thinking about his wife, and is very interested in her actually, and says, she couldn't help, she was a woman. So I thought that was really interesting. Just lots to examine, a lot of fodder for thought. But I do know I came out of it and I kind of wondered, like, I don't really know what the point of that book was. Like, I guess it was a man's life story, but I just came out of it not really quite knowing what to make of it. But I definitely did enjoy it, and I really liked the narrator. So I'd say it's well worth your time, but I didn't give it a star rating on Goodreads. I couldn't decide what it should be, so I didn't really feel like I should rate it if I didn't really know what I made of it. The next one is Death Comes for the Archbishop by Willa Cather, and I read this with Whitney from All the Shelves, and this was another one that I came out of it kind of thinking like, what was the point of that? So I didn't give this a star rating either, and I think if I had to do it over again, I think I would still read it, but I just came out not really feeling a connection with any of the characters or the plot. The writing was still there, and there were many, many passages that I underlined, and her descriptions of nature just are so hard to beat. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But I still don't know what I think of it. It's definitely not up there with me for O Pioneers or My Antonia. But I'm glad that I read it because I would like to read all of her work. So yeah, the writing was beautiful, but didn't really connect with many of the characters or the story. And it felt like a series of little vignettes. It didn't feel like a big overarching plot, if that makes sense. The next one that I read was The Lion in the Valley, and I read this with Kate from the novel Nomad, and unfortunately this was one that kind of wasn't helping my reading slump either. And this is the fourth in the Amelia Peabody series, and Kate and I both said at the end of it that we're getting a little bored with the common plot elements in Amelia Peabody, where she and Emerson are fighting, and then, they have a resolution always, and her son Ramses is just very mischievous, and they're in Egypt, and then there's always a little side romance. So there's just these elements, and I want a little bit of change. But ironically, the mystery in this one we thought was the strongest out of all four so far in the series. We thought it was a really strong mystery. So once I finally got to the end, I was really enthralled with the mystery. But I did go ahead and look up the next in the series, and she and Emerson and Ramses are back in England. So I definitely think I want to continue on with the series. As long as, if she keeps switching things up and having some variety, then I think I'll continue on. And so then there are several books that I started. Let me get these all together. But I didn't finish. So like I said, my September was just very mediocre. And so then by the end, when I had actually picked out a lot that I was really enjoying, I was just really tired. So I started a bunch of books. And the first one that I started, and will definitely finish, is Quartet in Autumn by Barbara Pym. I haven't read any Barbara Pym. I hadn't before this. And this is about 4 people middle-aged who are close to retirement age, and it's just about their lives during this time and kind of how they're processing their retirement and what they're going to do with it and how their friendship changes from it. And it's just very pleasant. It's a very quiet and soft novel, and I definitely want to read more Barbara Pym after reading this. And the next one that I started but did not finish was The Blue Girl by Lori Foos. This has made some of the rounds on BookTube. Jen Campbell was the first person I heard about it from. And when I was in the middle of September, you know, I had a Casual Friday Reads, I talked about this, and I just was in the mood for magical realism. And this definitely, the writing packs a punch, and I'm already halfway through this, so I'll definitely be continuing on with this. Then I only read a little bit of this because I got caught up with other buddy reads, but that's The Heart of the Family by Elizabeth Gouge. It's the third in the Elliott Family trilogy, and I'm really looking forward to reading some more Elizabeth Gouge. And I didn't realize before I read these that these were written kind of far apart, and I think her fans kept asking her, please, can we hear more about the Elliott family? So I feel very privileged to live in a time where I don't have to wait for the next one in the series to come out. The next one that I started, and I think this is my new favorite, Rosamund Pilcher. It's September. It's set in Scotland. There are lots of compelling characters, and I just love her writing, and it's just a beautiful setting. So definitely going to finish this as soon as I can. And I only have 130 pages left of this. And then I started, but was not able to finish, The Vicious Vet by MC Beaton, and this is the second in the Agatha Raisin series. And this is where a new vet comes to town, and after doing some kind of sketchy things to the different animals that he's worked with, he is found dead at a barn that he was working in, working on a horse. And so Agatha ends up being on the case. Then I really would love to finish Anne's House of Dreams. I didn't really get to much of this in the month of September. So hopefully I'll, keep on with this series. Because now, where are they? Yeah, I have book 6 to finish. So definitely want to get to that. And then I started, but we'll finish in the next couple days, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I'm doing this as a buddy read with Sarai over at Sarai Talks Books. So I've been enjoying chatting with her about this. I love doing buddy reads with Sarai, even if I'm not loving the book. So I'll talk more about Great Gatsby when I finish. So that is a kind of long wrap up, but I just wanted to tell you about everything that I read or didn't finish in the month of September. So anyhow, I hope you guys had a lovely month, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.